Hello kids, this is Papa. I'm about to read you a new story called 1,000-Star Hotel. It's a pretty fun book. Now, before we get started, Lily, can you hear me? How about Parker and Gemma, can you hear me? How about Laura and Caleb and Elise and even Isaac? Can all you hear me okay? Because I'm talking from Arizona. And that's pretty far away. But I hope you can hear me. But I'll try to speak up so you can possibly hear me, okay? Is that the deal? Well, let's get started with this little book. This book's sort of fun. 1,000-Star Hotel. Wonder what that's about. Well, looky here. There was once two muskrats who lived in a cabin near a big old river. Now look at their cabin. What do you notice about this cabin? How's the roof look? And you see any problems down here? Well, they lived in a cabin near an old river. And it was sheltered by a willow tree. Do you see the willow tree sort of protecting it? Almost like the willow tree is the roof. The cabin had cracked walls, and most of the roof was gone. It was lost in a storm a long time ago. But despite the cabin's problems, Mr. and Mrs. Muskrat still called it home. Well, that was their home. Every morning, after a breakfast of leftover soup, the river rats walked to the river to catch some fish. Mr. Muskrat always declared, "I'm sick and tired of the same old soup. Today's the day. We catch enough fish that it'll make us rich." So Mr. Muskrat wants to be rich. Remember that. He wants to be rich. Well, Mrs. Muskrat would smile and reply, "Well, I'll be happy if we catch enough fish just for supper. That's all we need, just enough for supper." Each evening, the river rats came home with just enough fish for dinner that night. Nothing more. That's all they had. Oh my gosh, something big's happening. Look what happened to the boat. One day, Mr. Muskrat felt a strong tug on his fishing line. Look at that. He's got his fishing pole and the line is going into the water. And what did it do to the boat? Oh my gosh, Mrs. Muskrat's got quite a ride there, just like a roller coaster. "Jumpin' Jiminy," he shouted. "I've never felt a fish pull like this. I bet it's the fish we've been waiting for." Mr. Muskrat is hoping to catch a huge fish, because if he sells the fish, it can make him rich. So he's pretty excited. In fact, look at his face. He's pretty excited. He's thinking of all the money he's going to have when he sells this big fish. Oh my! After much struggling and tugging and yanking and cranking, they managed to catch a giant golden catfish whose scales shimmered like stars. It burst out of the water and swam to the boat, peering at the river rats through big, bulging eyes. Do you see the big eyes? Oh my. The fish spoke. "Kind and gentle river rats, show mercy, for I am a fish of great magic. And if you release me," he's saying he's got magic. "And if they let him go back in the water, he's going to grant them a wish, any wish they want." What would you be wishing for? So here's the big fish And he tells him, I'm a magic fish. And if you let me go back in the water, I'll grant you the wish of your dreams. Oh my, look at this. Mr. Muskrat was too dumbfounded to speak. He couldn't believe it. This is a magic fish? He was just thinking, he couldn't even talk. A wish, said Mrs. Muskrat. Let's see. Oh, a hammer and some nails to fix up our roof. See, she's just thinking right there of a hammer and some nails. Have you guys ever used some hammer and nails? I think you have. Even at the cabin, I know you've done that. Well, she's saying all we need is a hammer and some nails to fix up the roof, and that's all we really need. That would be wonderful. Then Mr. Muskrat said, hammer and nails, you gotta be kidding me. This is our chance. This is our chance to get what we really want. He looked at the fish and yelled, we wish to live in a big fancy home with the proper roof. He's wanting a big house. Oh, look at that house he's thinking of. Can you see the house? Does that look better than the house he's got? Yeah, it does look a lot better than the house he's got. Well, the fish flipped its tail once and then it spoke. And it says, ripples and rushes, gusts and gushes, a fish has been fished and a wish has been... Wait just a minute! Oh my gosh, wait just a minute! I changed my mind. Surely we can wish for something better than a bigger home. So now he was right in the middle of getting a wish and he stopped it. And he said, let's think about this. I asked for a bigger home, but maybe there's something more I should be asking for. Better? Mrs. Muskrat scratched her head. She's trying to think, what would he want? Well, I don't know about that, but we could use a new soup kitchen, a new soup kettle. They've got a problem with their soup kettle. That's where you put it on the stove and it makes hot soup. Ours is worn out and starting to leak, but that's all we really need. So Mrs. Muskrat is thinking, we just need a kettle, a soup kettle, and we'll be happy. Mr. Muskrat frowned. He didn't want to settle for a kettle. He didn't want to settle for a kettle. He wished and wanted a life of luxury. We wish to live in the biggest and best mansion on the river. Look at that. Holy cows, he's now thinking about a huge mansion. Look at all those rooms. That's a huge, huge place. Well, again, the fish's tail flipped and it spoke. And it said, ripples and rushes, gusts and gushes, a fish has been fished and a wish has been... Hold your fish feathers! Mr. Muskrat, he's thinking. He almost got the wish. He almost got the wish. This is what he was wishing for. And if he would have wished, boom, it would have been done. But he stopped it. And he's thinking again. Oh my, we can't waste this wish. Let me think of something even bigger than a mansion. Oh my. Bigger? Said Mrs. Muskrat. Why don't we wish for... She's wondering what to wish for. It's like he's getting bigger and bigger all the time. Why don't we wish for a nice warm quilt? She's thinking, if we just had a really nice quilt, that would keep us warm in the winter. We'd really like that. Oh boy, do you think Mr. Muskrat's going to like that idea? He hasn't liked those ideas so far. He keeps thinking things have got to get bigger and bigger. Well, she's saying, you're thinking too small, he said. A 5-star hotel is what we want. Oh, look at that. That's like going to a big hotel. And look at them. Oh my gosh, they want to be stars in the motel. And he says, we need to have a 5-star motel. This is what we really want. Imagine. He talks about housekeeping and room service, and big fluffy pillows, and even a king-size bed. He's just dreaming of how nice it would be to live like this. Well, Mrs. Muskrat sighed. A 5-star? A 10-star? You could even have a 1,000-star hotel. And you'd still want more. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. Every time he's wished, he's wanted more. He can never have enough. Everything's got to be bigger and better. And she's saying you could have a 1,000-star hotel. And you'd still want more. Mr. Muskrat threw up his arms around his wife and explained, Jumpin' Jiminy, you're brilliant. We wish to live in a 1,000-star hotel. So he's agreeing with her. Let's get a 1,000-star hotel. Most hotels are just 5-star. That's the best you can do. And he's wanting something that's never been built. It would be a perfect hotel. Well, Mrs. Muskrat opened her mouth to protest, but she was interrupted by a flip of the tail and the familiar rhyme. Ripples and rushes, gusts and gushes, a fish has been fished, and a wish has been, do you think he'll stop it this time? Wished. Oh, they didn't stop it. That means they're going to get a 1,000-star hotel. And with that, the fish swam away. So he's back in the water. Oh my gosh. And when the fish swam away, there was a little bit of gold flakes in the water as the fish went in the water. Mrs. Muskrat gathered their things while Mr. Muskrat bounced ahead of his wife. Mr. Muskrat's pretty excited to get home and see their 1,000-star motel. Just leave the stuff behind, he kept saying. Our troubled fishing days are over. Look at, they're wanting to get home as fast as they can. And he told his wife, don't even pick up our stuff. Leave the fishing poles behind. Let's get home as fast as we can. I can't wait to see our 1,000-star hotel. Heading through the last light of day, a strong gust of wind came from behind them. Very strong gust of wind. Let's think about that. It shook the oak trees and ripped through the willows. Mrs. Muskrat looked concerned, but Mr. Muskrat had his mind on ordering dinner from his 1,000-star room service. He was hungry, but he knew when he got to his 1,000-star hotel, he could just order anything he wanted, and they'd bring it to him right away. He wouldn't have to do any work or anything anymore. Everything would happen just the way he says it. And he can't wait to get home. Look at him running through the dark. And he said, don't worry about all that wind. We just got to get home. Uh-oh. Look what they see when they get home. Is that a 1,000-star hotel? Let's look at this. The couple reached the grove at the end of the trail, and they didn't see a hotel. At the bottom of the hill, as usual, stood the muskrat's cabin. With its cracked walls and crumbling roof, the only difference was that the old willow tree had been blown down by the wind. Where's the old willow tree? Oh, look at that. Remember, the willow tree used to be up here, and it broke with all the wind, and it fell down. Oh, no. How do you think Mr. Muskrat's going to feel? Let's see what he's thinking about. Uh-oh, there's a picture of him. Does he look happy? He doesn't look happy. Mr. Muskrat threw his hat on the ground. He kicked at the dirt and pulled on his hair. That lion cheating, of a talking fish, there's no magic. Look at him. He is very upset. He is stomping and having a temper tantrum. Oh, wait a second. We just had a little moment here. Uh-oh. Just a minute. There we go. That's weird. Hang on. We got us a technical difficulty here. There we go. Okay. We're back. Okay. So, Mr. Muskrat is pretty upset. This is our old cabin, as weathered and beaten and ramshackled as ever. Look at that. We should have taken that fish to town and sold it. They had a chance. They could have taken it and sold it. But instead, they wanted the wish. And the wish was if they promised to return the fish to the water, they'd get a wish. And they did a wish, remember? They wanted a 1,000-star hotel. Oh my, one moment, dear. You should come see this, Mrs. Muskrat called from inside the cabin. So his wife had gone in the cabin, and she says, honey, you need to come see this. This is really interesting. Look at Mr. Muskrat. He walks in, and what does he see? Well, Mr. Muskrat walked inside. His wife smiled at him and pointed up through the wide hole in the roof. He tipped his head back and gasped. Without the large willow tree hanging over the cabin, he now had a perfect view of the night sky and its 1,000 stars. Well, let's see what they can see from inside the cabin. Oh my gosh, they can see all the stars. Jumpin' Jiminy, would you look at that, Mr. Muskrat said. They're beautiful. Mrs. Muskrat put a hand on her husband's shoulder and said, it looks like your wish really did come true. We do have a 1,000-star hotel. We just didn't expect it. Look at that. They can look right up through their roof. Look at that. They can look right up through their roof and see those stars. You can't even count them. There's probably more than 1,000. Look at them at night. Oh my gosh. That evening, the two river rats fell asleep while stargazing in their 1,000-star hotel. Look at them laying in bed, looking at all the stars. And they lived simply ever after. Look what they did. It says 1,000-star hotel, a B&B. It's like a VRBO. Free stargazing, guided fishing trips, and look at even over here, there's a place to eat outside. So they ended up getting their wish. And at the end of the day, they really liked their new 1,000-star hotel. But it was just their house. But now they could see the stars. That was a good story, huh? Well, kids, I just want to say one thing. I love you so much. Goodbye!